What's up, cupcakes? It's your boy Paperback Dan. I'm here with Comic Connor. You know how it goes. Your new comic book day duo. And there's no Taylor this week, no Hess this week. It's all good. They're busy. And I mean, you know what we do here. We're going to show you what we got from our pull list this week. I'm pretty excited about it. Connor's back after missing last week. Missed you, buddy.
Yep.
Glad to have you here.
Missed you too.
And yeah, so Connor, if you could kindly lead us off, let me know what you got.
Awesome. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm going to start off with two issues that I haven't read this week that I picked up, but both are probably like in contention for pick of the week based on my thoughts and feelings about either previous issues or how they're set up. So the first issue I picked up that I've not read is Venom Ii. I absolutely adored the first issue. I didn't expect to. I'm very excited to read this. I'm glad I haven't got around to reading it. But yeah, that one I'm very excited about. And then the second one, which honestly I expect to be my pick of the week, is Justice League Incarnate 1. I have not had a chance to read it yet. By God, I love that cover. By God, I've loved the build-up in Infinite Frontier. And I am very excited to see where DC's going with this whole, their main storyline, which I believe is taking place in here. And Joshua Williamson has been on such a roll this year. He's been fantastic. And I've not read a single issue of his that I have not enjoyed. And the cast of characters in this are just so awesome. This particularly because Flashpoint Batman has joined them as well, which is just even a genius idea. And a cameo from Justice League China, their Flash, which I actually loved that series. It was really underrated and it got cancelled, but it was great. It was really good.
I don't know that
I hope they bring it back. Yeah, basically, in I think it was Rebirth, they made a Chinese Superman, and it surprised me. It was awesome.
I think I saw something about the Chinese Superman. Yeah. I didn't realize they had kind of.
It was really great. I think it was written by, is it Jean Lang? If I've said that name wrong, I apologize. But I think it's Jean Lang. They wrote it. It was really good, fantastic, and it really surprised me. It was one of the better storylines that came out of that period of time as well. And there was a lot of good in that time. And then I think about, must have been like issue 15 or something. It got changed to Justice League of China or something like that, because it had introduced a bunch of characters. But it was really good, highly recommended. And I was really disappointed that they cancelled it. The character, the Chinese Superman, has shown up in a couple one-offs recently, and I've always kind of hoped that they would come back. Like Justice League China and Justice League 3000, which is a spiritual sequel to Justice League International. Those two are two series that DC kind of felt like they lacked confidence on, and I would love them to go back to that. But yeah, and that, I think Justice League Incarnate, without reading it, would probably be my pick of the week. But I do actually have a pick of the week, okay?
It's a bold claim.
So, I might bring it up next week. I'll say my initial thoughts at the start of next week. So bottom this week, and this is going to be a double issue because I didn't get to say last week what I thought of this because I wasn't here, unfortunately. But no surprise, it was my bottom pick last week. It was my bottom pick this week. It's the last two issues of Spider-Man.
I love it.
My God, it's so much. Look at it. Yeah, it's yeah. It's just the pain of the series, man. This is the Craven arc that, just like Morbius, lasted 2 issues and does nothing. Does nothing. I mean, look at that cover. Like here's the thing, right? Look at this cover. That's last week's cover. That's a decent cover. That looks exciting. Yeah.
Okay, it looks kind of menacing.
Yeah, it's menacing. Look at this cover. The hell is that? Like
that,
I don't even.
Is that like a variant or something? Because that does not look like it's in the same tone at all. Honestly, if you told me that Scotty Young drew that, I would have believed you.
Yeah, no, it's not even. It's not even in the same style. Like I get what it's trying to do because the book is a little like that. But oh my God, the series is just a load of nothing. Like it's just a load of nothing. And like Peter's now disappeared for 2 issues, and Ben has done the same stuff over and over again, and it's just replaying the same plot points. Like they've made it 3 times monthly, and I don't know why, because they don't have the content. It's clear as day it's not got the content. So like these 2 issues. So we're now on to our 3rd writer, Cody Zigler, and it's drawn by Michael Dowling. Michael Dowling's art's pretty good. It kind of has the same problem of Ben looking a bit different again. I mean, now he's got the S curl. Like, like it's just constantly changing. But I'm used to it now. I'm used to Ben being different each week. But the art, I mean, like even like I think that's meant to be Ben. I don't know. It doesn't really look like him later on. But anyways, yeah, like this is like I'd say so far Zeb Wells has been the best writer on it. He did the first 2 issues, and I also thought Patrick Gleason was going to be doing more, but 3 times monthly is just too much for an artist to do consistently. Yeah. That team were the best ones. Kelly Thompson, that felt like filler. This now feels like it's running out of steam. I don't know. Writing wise, it's okay. I think that the cracks are showing now. I think Kelly Thompson was able to hide those cracks in regards to how much story was. But the thing is like, what I don't even know how many parts that is now. That must be like 6 or 7 parts, and I think they said it was like 20 parts. So we're almost halfway, and I feel like there's nothing. Like actually, that's a lie. You know what? There's a post-credit sort of scene at the end of this book that I won't spoil, and it's got an interesting hook. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm kind of on board with that per se. Like I'm not, I was quite excited. I thought, oh, okay, that would get me excited for the next issue. But then I find out it's not even for the next Spider-Man issue. It's for the next like 80, like, so this is issue 80. It's the next 80 Bay one. It's like the spin-off one. And I'm like, oh, I'm already reading this. I don't want to read spin-offs as well. Get the fuck with your spin-offs.
That's infuriating. Wow.
And this is on top of being 3 times. So it is technically 4 times monthly because you're getting some shitty spin-off at the same time. Because you're getting like 78 Bay. Because it's Bay for Beyond. But when you say Bay, it just sounds weird.
Yeah.
So you're like 78 Bay, which was the Daughters of the Dragon, which I didn't read. But to be honest, they didn't give me enough. They didn't sell me on them enough in the story itself to actually go and buy that. This has sold me a bit on that story, but I was excited for that story in regards to what it would mean to the characters in the Spider-Man series. But now I know it's a spin-off. I'm like, well, I don't need it. I learned this with Nick Spencer's run. You do not need those specials. They do nothing. They just drag things along even more. It just makes you feel like you're reading an extra 20 issues to get the same thing. And I've not missed anything from missing that previous Bay issue. So I can't imagine I'll miss anything. Because they'll probably get a summary at the start of the issue. Like, oh, this is what happened. I'll be like, oh, cool. So I didn't need to spend that $3 on another issue just to pad it out. But yeah, it's just a mess. Absolute mess. And there's no issue next week, I don't think. But who knows? Because it comes out so much. But it will be my bottom pick. I already know now. It's a spoiler alert for every other week there's a Spider-Man issue. It will be the bottom. And the thing is, it's not even because I don't even know who I can blame. Because I like Zeb Wells and I like Kelly Thompson. But it's so stretched out, just painfully stretched out. It's just beyond belief. Yeah, I feel like it could go on, but I might be just repeating myself like the book does, and I don't want to become the book, Yeah,
I mean,
it's just, yeah.
Hearing you talk about Spider-Man, though, is some of the highlights of these episodes for me.
What? I mean, Peter's completely vanished from the book now, and I'm like, fuck, it's so bad. Even Peter's running away now. Peter's like dying, and he's probably happy because he's like, fuck. I'm out of this shitty series, Because I know Taylor's spoken about Non-Stop Spider-Man, how good that is and stuff. And I'm like, cool. I'm gonna go read that because clearly Peter's got okay, that's set before this, but I'm like, clearly Peter's got some good stories going on elsewhere, and this one is not it. Because like Ben Reilly, so far there has been zero characterization. There has been very, very little dialogue is just so much exposition, and I don't get it. I don't get what the point is. They're like introducing this Beyond group, and then it's like shady, and I'm like, just like every other corporation in comics, why does anyone join a corporation in comics? They're all bloody shady, and this does nothing to change that image. And then you're like, you're following Ben, and you're thinking, okay, so is this story about why Ben's a better Spider-Man? No, because Ben's kind of like feeling bad he's Spider-Man. So I'm like, okay, so how does he feel about that in regards to Peter? Oh, we're gonna make Peter go missing. And when these two issues barely even speak about Peter, so you're like, oh, okay, so we're now just focused on Ben being Spider-Man. But then he's just Spider-Man. There's no life. Like again, like I said, they've taken the everyman away. He's just a guy that works for like this company. And that was already done in Nick Spencer's run, and it was done in Dan Slott's run. And there's just nothing new being said here. And I don't know if this is, it kind of feels like Marvel are like filling in until they go like, how do we fix Spider-Man? Like we need to do something to fill the time. But then also they're being greedy and they're like, how do we fix Spider-Man? But also have a stopgap that makes a crap ton of money. And that's like, okay, we'll make it 3 times monthly. And we'll take a 3-issue storyline and we'll spread it over 20 issues. And we'll get some big artists on it to do the hard graft. And I'll probably take the hits for it not being so great. And then that's what's happened. So I just don't know. Like Marvel, the Spider Corner is a mess. And the thing is like the tease for the next issue as well. It's not a spoiler because there's already covers out for it. But Miles is coming into the series now, and I'm like, no, Miles, stay away, please. Stay away. Don't come near it. Please don't. To be fair though, even though I'm saying that though, Miles will come into it. Like, so we've had Morbius, and we introduced this group of villains that hurt Peter, and I'm like, cool, this is an interesting start. They've gone, like they've just vanished. They're like, okay, so these characters who were like nothing characters who managed to do this crazy damage to Peter are now just gone. So you're like, okay, they don't matter. Then you got Morbius, and it was like, oh, big Morbius storyline. You're like, and there was a good cover for that as well. Nothing. And then you got Craven. Nothing. And you're like, okay, so Miles is probably going to come in, and I'm like scared about what they do with him, but they'll probably do nothing with him. So it's just a waste of time. And I'm still buying it like an idiot. But it's so I can complain about it. Because I'm not being one of these assholes that's like, ooh, this series is shit. And then being like, yeah, I don't actually know what's going on in it. I will drop it eventually. I mean, it's killing me. But I need to back up what I'm saying,
Yeah, I respect that.
Yeah, and also I don't want to go on YouTube and see like 100 other people saying this is amazing, and I'm like, no, this is not amazing. There needs to be an honest voice out there. So on that note, like we'll move on from that because fuck Spider-Man and fuck Amazing Spider-Man, So the next one I got, and it was not my pick of the week, but it was really good still, is Mighty Morphin. So. This is continuing the Altanian War.
Time now? This is the second time now that it's not your pick of the week after you said it's almost guaranteed.
I know. It's fucking annoying, but yeah, like they really managed to like it's still really high quality. It's great. It's just other stuff has just managed to edge it. There was a long period of time where I was reading it like, yeah, this is amazing. But like a particular company brought some stuff out where I'm like, oh, okay, you're competing. You're doing a good job of competing. But this is still, even though this isn't my top pick, this is still like consistently the best. Like there's never a drop in quality. This issue is more of a setup issue for the rest of the kind of war and stuff. It does some crazy things with a famous character. Yeah, again, it's changing. It's like doing its own thing from the series, and it's changing lore in a way, but doing it in a respectful way that's exciting. That I think if the show did this, you would have lost your mind as a kid. Fuck, you lose your mind as an adult watching it. This could easily like so Netflix. They just announced Netflix are doing that show with the creator of End of the Fucking World, and they're doing like all that universe and stuff. This is the template. If they use this, this will be massive. I don't give a shit if you don't like Power Rangers. I don't give a shit if you think it's for kids. If they do this, if they follow this, if they use this as their Bible for their universe, and that creator is really good, the guy that's running the whole thing is amazing, then this has the potential to be incredible and have everyone watching it. Everyone and your goddamn mother watching it, you know? You can hold me to that.
You know? I mean, I will, but I mean...
Yeah. You know, When your mother's questioning you on Power Rangers and like, whoa, what the fuck's gonna happen next in Power Rangers? You know you made it, and that will happen. I promise you that. Yeah.
I hope so.
So yeah, like that's great. I can't really talk much about that one because spoilers again, and it's just so built up at this point that you can't really say anything.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense. Do you know what I mean? But we were talking about doing a video on Power Rangers at some point. You'll probably get a lot more answers there if you're looking to get into it, or you're looking to learn more about it. If you think it's childish and you're stupid, then like yeah, we'll this video will change your opinion. Okay, we promise.
Yeah, let's say because Connor has been kind of not pushing it on me, but he's been like selling me on it a little bit. So we're gonna do a little Q&A, I guess, to see if I should read Power Rangers or not.
Yeah, we'll call it our sell me on this video. Like that's probably the best way of doing it.
Yes,
yeah? I'll pitch it to you, and you will read it because the pitch will be awesome.
I'm turning up.
Okay, so right, my next issue. This could have been my pick of the week. This is by far my cover of the week. Human Target. Lord have mercy, I love this cover. It's so classic, and
I didn't get to see what it looked like because it was sold out at my shop. I happened to notice that there was a little like sold out placard there, and I was like, what the fuck is Human Target? And I was like, oh yeah, it's a book that it took me a minute, but yeah. So I totally forgot that you'd probably grab it.
Yeah,
but I'm excited to hear what you're gonna say.
This was awesome. This felt like the first issue was like set up, and I told you it kind of felt classic. Having Justice League International, it makes it feel more timeless. Like it feels like it's from like the 80s. This felt like it's so weird. It was like some sort of, I wouldn't say rom-com, but it felt very 80s, but not in the way it was written. Like it was like you were watching a movie made in the 80s. It was like a detective / rom-com style thing. And magnificent. And also I just want to point out that the back is also awesome. And I was fucking right.
Oh yeah, look at that.
12 issues. Yeah. The 12 issues, and they're ticking them off. So I like that. That's a small detail that I really like. Yeah, this issue follows Human Target and that doing his. See, I'm not very well versed on him. This is my first time I've ever read it.
So is that the name of the character?
I think it is. I think it is. His name's like, what is it? It's Christopher something. I can't even remember now. But like, yeah, like he's an assassin and stuff. But the reason, like one of the reasons I picked up this series, and I'm learning about him, is because of Justice League International, which was teased at the end of issue 1. This issue has Ice from Justice League International in it, and like that's what I mean. Like her Ice making kind of love heart sort of thing. It's so old school. I love it. Like again, it harkens back to classic Hollywood films. The art is absolutely magnificent. I'm trying to see. Greg Smallwood still just knocks out the park with this. I mean, I don't know if I can kind of show, but like, it's just so like it's so soft. But like, I mean, I looked a bit weird. I was like showing like legs there and stuff, and I was like, maybe I should show an actual page. I'm not being a creep.
Thank you for clarifying for anybody who
like,
was
look, legs for days. Like I wasn't doing that stuff. That's weird. Yeah, like see, like it's classic 9-panel grid, like how he writes and stuff. Yeah,
I really like that.
Yeah, and it was an issue that didn't cover a lot, but yeah, it did so much. I just really enjoyed it. It was kind of riveting. There was a wee twist at the end, like a small one, where I was like, damn, this guy knows what he's doing. And Ice was really well characterized. Having read Justice League International, Ice was always written as this like kind of shy character. She's not so much in this, showing time has went past and where she's at now. But just I really enjoyed the characterization of her. And it really is just the two of them the whole issue. There's maybe a couple cameos here and there, but there's not a lot of others. It's just the two of them. And the thing is, like I was saying about like exposition earlier, this had a lot of exposition in the sense that there was a lot of monologuing from him, but it was never boring because he's sort of like it's almost like a detective style series. There's a lot of interesting points made, and unlike Batman the Imposter, that's only 3 issues, so it feels like exposition because it's got such a short issue run. It's just trying to tell you so much. This felt like it was a guy slowly coming to like, okay, so this is here and this is here, and like she's telling me this, but how do I feel about this? It felt very like, again, it helped the old school feel. Again, it was a book that was perfectly written. It wasn't overwritten or underwritten. I never felt like there's pages, like there's definitely pages where I felt like, man, like this page where like he did the Rick Remender style thing where he puts all the dialogue down the side of the page, you know, and the panels kind of, and sometimes that can be a bit heavy, you know, like Rick Remender, sometimes he does that style, and I feel like it can be quite heavy on information, like it's a lot to take in, and you're kind of trying to balance the dialogue and the information with the panels. But this was done in a way that it kind of, again, it helped the old school feel, and it told you exactly the information you needed. It didn't elaborate any more than it needed to, and it felt honest. Again, sometimes with that style of stuff as well, especially when it's dialogue, people feel the need to overwrite, and it becomes jarring because it's so much at once. It feels like someone is writing someone, whereas this felt like people talking. So again, like Tom King does a really good job on that front. I'm curious to see where the rest of it goes because it's early days. There's still another 10 issues to go.
Yeah.
But so far, magnificent. And yeah, I just want to show it again. Cover of the week. I can't get over the cover. I'll probably frame this. I love this cover that much. In fact, if they're all this quality, I actually will frame them all next to each other because the first issue I loved as well, the cover for. So pick this series up. I think pick it up. It's really well done, and it's different, especially from the big two. It just feels a bit refreshing compared to everything going on. So the final issue I picked up this week, and this is my pick of the week, and this blew my mind. I did not. I've been very excited for these, but this was another level, and that is Action Comics 1037. Holy hell, was this good? And like, I've said a lot about this series recently in regards to like what's all leading towards, are also like the stakes. Our character's gonna die and stuff. Well, bloody hell, this issue really set that off. I have no idea where this is going now. They did a lot of build up for this, and it's kicked off. Some stuff's been revealed, and some big things happened with some characters that I was like, damn, okay, I don't know what's about to happen. I don't know where this is going. I don't even know if they all could die on this thing. I don't know. And it was awesome. And I mean, like, it felt big. It felt like this now, like they've done a lot of talking about, oh, this is the next Superman epic, like this is the biggest epic since Doomsday, and Superman Doomsday. And yeah, you feel that a lot, like you know, people say that all the time, that it's going to be the next big thing, or it's going to be the next series that does something drastic with a big character, and then you read it and it's not much. But this is epic. This is hugely epic, and I'm so glad that I read all the parts to it and just kind of followed along. Because honestly, as much as I enjoyed Superman in the Authority, there was points, because Grant Morrison, it would be a bit weird, where I was like, oh, I don't know if this is going to be worth it in the long run, like what this is going to be. Now we're at this point, I'm like, damn, I'm so glad I just persevered and I read the whole thing. Because yeah, it's just excellent. I mean, like, Philip Kennedy Johnson, magnifique. This is awesome. The artist, and sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, but Miguel Mendonca, my god, the art as well. So like, I mean, I don't know if like the art like just pummels everything. That's like no, that's it makes it feel so much bigger. It makes it feel so much like there's just like it just
so time out. If you could show off that cover again a little bit.
What, this one?
Yeah, because this was my cover of the week, actually.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I didn't buy it because I know that there's other stuff that I have to read first. But it had like a huge like big fight feel. Like it just felt epic, and I almost picked the Captain Marvel cover as my cover of the week this week because I thought that one was cool. But I saw that one and I'm like, this cover makes me want to pick up this issue right now, whereas the Captain Marvel one did not have the same effect on me. So that's why that edged it out. But I flipped through it a little bit, and that last panel that you just showed with that giant whatever the fucking thing is, does it refer to itself as mother or something? Like I kind of looked at it.
Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, damn, like that's pretty cool. And I think I flipped a little further and might have seen something that I possibly shouldn't have.
I was gonna say there's some panels I would love to show off, but I can't because it would be a bit spoilery. I think the one I'll show, and this is not what it looks like. There's just so much I would love to show this book. Like I need, like I mean, like just look at that. Like what? Like look at the contrast with the soup shield and stuff right there. Yeah. And like it's just like it's genius. It just knows. And I mean, like without sport, like you know, like look at that. It's just mental. It's just and it feels amazing. Like you know, like it felt almost like a horror at points. It's just like because like you spend so much. Like it's actually brilliant because like Grant. Actually, I noticed. I don't know if it came out this week, but Grant Morrison, Superman and the Authority, a hardcover of it, I think is coming out. It came out this week, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I think I saw it on the
shelf today. When I went.
So that's quite fun, and it's quite like team coming together, and it's quite enjoyable. And then from there, as I say, then you read the Superman and the Authority and Batman special, and that one was also quite fun. There were some dark elements to it, and it was intricate, like the Ben Templesmith art for the different realities and stuff. Awesome. But then coming into this, like man, this is such a different tone. Like the other parts have like this kind of fun quirkiness to them. This has just intense like action, part horror, and like again, like when I opened this issue, having read last issue, I saw some dark imagery last issue, and I thought, okay, this is the real deal. This feels serious, and there is going to be some serious shit happens with this. But reading this issue, like, is another level. It went further than I expected it to. I thought it would stop at a point, and we would go, okay, like this. But no, like it went further than I expected it to. And it's so awesome because now I'm like, okay, when I read the next issue, I actually won't know how far it'll go now. As a Superman book, you expect it to stop at a certain place. But now I'm anticipating the next issue because I'm like, what if this could easily get worse now? And I'm worried. I'm like scared and worried about it, you know, and it's exciting. And on top of that, like the characters that are with Superman on this journey, if I'm honest, they still have so much they could do with him. And I don't know what's going to happen to them. Like, I care enough, but I also want to learn more. But I'm also like, what if we lose them before I learn more? And it's not in a bad way where it's like, oh, I don't care. Like, if they die, I don't care. I don't know much about them. I've been given enough. And I know from previous, like, comic runs and stuff, I know and just enough. Like Apollo and Midnighter, I've never particularly read them, but I know enough. And I've learned enough through these books that I'm like, oh God, like I don't want them to die. I want to learn more about them in this environment and like how they're going to deal with this and stuff. You know, I don't want anything bad to happen to them. And I feel like that with all of them. And it just really counterbalances. It makes all that build up worth it. It makes it feel more scary because if something happens to Superman on here, that's going to affect John on his series because that means Superman ain't coming back. You know, and John very much right now, as much as he believes he's he's like, okay, I'm taking over the mantle. He's also like in the mindset that Superman could come back. So, as much as Clark can say, oh, there's a chance I won't. Let's be real. Even if as us as people, we'd be like, oh no, you know, you don't.
It's Superman. He'll be back.
Yeah, exactly. But also, like, people kind of live with like you know, we don't expect a bad thing to happen to us. So, like, for him, he would like, you know, it's like everyone else. You would just presume he was going to come back. You wouldn't think the worst thoughts. But you reading it, knowing what Superman's going through in this now, you're like, oh God, he might not be coming back. And you're like, and like John will just be sitting there forever, like, oh, you know? So yeah, like my last issue, my pick of the week. This was awesome. I wish there was any easier way to read this because obviously you need to do some prior reading, but it's so worth it. I'm so excited for where it goes. And yeah, and like, you know, citing off notes in regards to my pool list this week, like you're saying, like Power Rangers is normally my top pick, and I said it would be my top pick, but DC, like they've been slaying it with this Superman storyline, and again, like Human Target, they've been I'm showing it off again. They they've been slaying it with these series, these little series, but like Human Target in particular, just 2 issues in, already blowing my mind. Love it, love the style of it. So yeah, it was a strong week for DC. I can't wait to read Justice League Incarnate as well, because the fun thing as well is I don't know how much this is going to play a part in everything. Every time I've kind of said, oh, I've read a series, but I don't know how much this will play a bigger part in the grand scale of things. It has. Like when I read Superman and the Authority, I thought, I don't know how much a part this is going to play. And then you read John and John's series, and it's like, oh, Superman's about to leave. I got to take over. So you're like, oh, this is playing a part, you know? And it's like Deathstroke Inc. I was like, okay, I don't know how big a part this is going to play. Oh, but it's just had kind of tied into another series. And I'm like, oh, damn, this is bigger. And it seems to be that way right now, where everything's connecting in some way. And then where is it? What this is should be the through line. That should be the middle point where this is what everything is kind of built around. So yeah, great week. That's my pool list. Spider-Man shit. Everything else was great. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I really want to read that Superman stuff. So I'm gonna have to look up like how far back, because like, you know, I'm not huge on Superman, but I'm willing to keep an open mind.
The thing is, I also want to be aware that I don't want to hype it up to the point when someone reads it that they go like, oh, this is not great. I just think I've read Superman for quite a long time now, and I think in recent years, other than Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason's run and Dan Jurgens' run post Rebirth, it's been pretty awful for the past like 10 years. Just to feel some stakes again, and just to see some character from Superman, and to see him in a different environment, and just the build-up, the respect given to the build-up is the thing. I don't think it'll be for everyone, and obviously a lot of the time it's up there with my picks of the week, because it speaks to like the sort of epic skill I like, but I don't think it'll be for everyone. But that said, I do think everyone should give it a try, or try to, depending on how they release it. As you say, you're not a big Superman fan. I'm quite a big Superman fan, so that obviously is quite a difference. But I think that this would be a good kind of series to kind of figure out your thoughts on Superman. I think there's a lot of characterization, and I mean from Superman the Authority to this issue, there's a lot of characterization of Superman where the characters around him are questioning why he does certain things. And it's almost meta in the sense that I think if you're not a fan of Superman, you would probably question the same things. And I think that it's maybe a good, like, it's well written in the sense that you could read this, and if you found yourself interested in Superman in this series, you would maybe want to go back and read some of his good stuff and go like, okay, let's see what he's actually like. Whereas if you're not too keen on him here, then I don't think it would sell you on him elsewhere. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But I think this is a good kind of, I'd say taster, but it's just very good characterization. Superman's character has very well in it. But Philip Kennedy Johnson's just writing a kick-ass Superman right now. But yeah, I think that I would recommend it to someone trying out Superman for the first time. That said, again, it's split over numerous different series, which is the awkward thing. I don't know. I need to look at the mapping of that Superman the Authority. My hope would be that the Batman special would be in there because it's also a Superman in the Authority. But I don't know if it would be because it's not written by Grant Morrison.
I didn't think to look. When I saw the trade, I was like, oh, it's a hardcover, so I'm not going to bother looking at it. Mm-hmm. But I didn't think, because I was curious about the special being in there. I didn't think to look.
Because if it is in there, then that would be brilliant, because you literally could just pick up that book and then you could pick up the 2 issues of Action Comics and you would be there. It would be a bit different though, in the sense that, because I think if you've not read Action Comics and you've not read John's series, not that you need them, like I think this series actually is beneficial reading it singles. I think it's good reading it monthly because it's building the anticipation. I'm like scared now. I have to wait till next month to find out what happens. I think reading it as a book, I think Superman the Authority would work well as a book because you kind of need all that for the team coming together. But I think in regards to like the Batman Superman Authority special, that was 1 month. And then it was Action Comics, the part one storyline, another month. Then this issue, another month. That buildup has kind of helped make it feel really a bit more epic and not so much at once. No, you're not binge reading it.
Yeah.
So I think it probably would read a little different in like a little bit of the suspense would be gone when you read it collected as well. You know, unless you took manufactured breaks. Like if you decided, okay, I'll read like one a day at the least, or one a week or something. You know what I mean?
I think that's a good point. I definitely think it'll help add to the epicness, so to speak.
Because that's the thing, like this storyline's been built over months for me, but if someone was to buy all the books, they'll just read it all in one evening because it's not actually that much issues in the grand scale of things. And if you read it one evening, yeah, it'd probably be cool, but it won't have that epic build-up and scale that you've kind of felt month to month, you know?
Yeah, and as much as, and I feel like I've said this before, like on camera, as much as I prefer like binge reading and reading trades and all that other stuff, that feeling, like that anticipation between each month when you're reading singles is irreplaceable.
Yeah. Because it's the thing, like Justice League Incarnate, I feel like that book was like it came out today, but which is December. It was advertised for November, and we did a video on solicitations.
I'm pretty sure it was on one of our solicit videos. The last one we did, I think it's been 3 or 4 weeks now.
Yeah,
I think it's been 4 weeks since the video, and it's been 3 weeks since it was supposed to come out.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So like, okay, so it's been pushed back, which is annoying, but it's just built my anticipation for it. You know, and it was the same with Infinite Frontier. I read that issue, and like I think issue 2 had a huge ending, and I was like, whoa, I had to wait for that next issue. If I read that as a book, I would just be like, oh, okay, I've got the next part, and I could just read, you know, there's no anticipation there. There's no suspense. I think we lose the kind of epicness of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, what did you pick up, Dan?
I was gonna say, yeah, I guess that makes it my turn. So I did grab a handful of back issues. I messaged you about them recently because I was curious, but my shop had all of them so far, so I said fuck it and got it. And that would be Titans United.
Cool.
I got 1, 2, and 3, which I think is my favorite cover of the 3 so far.
The covers are sick.
Yeah, honestly, they're all pretty good. Like even this one's pretty cool. I didn't know what this cover looked like. I was like, this one's cool. And I think like this one might potentially be my least favorite, but I'm also like very on the fence for it being my favorite because like I love like the ensemble nature of it. I like how like detailed everything looks. I don't know. I think that's the cool. Covers are awesome.
Yeah, I think that's the cool thing about that first issue cover. I mean, you wouldn't normally see issue 1s like that, but the thing is that with that issue, like my partner picked that one up, and the reason she did is because you knew exactly the characters you were getting in it.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it actually sells. Exactly. Like
I think it helps because I saw the usual like minus Cyborg. Like when I think of the Teen Titans, I think of the show that I grew up with. I think most people already probably do. So like, it doesn't have Cyborg on here, but like it has Beast Boy, it has Starfire, it has Nightwing, and it's like I like Superboy too, and like Red Hood's cool. He's on here, and it's, I don't know who these two characters are.
Oh, that's Hawk and Dove.
Okay, so I've heard of them. I guess I didn't realize that these were their current costumes.
Yeah, so like those two are like when I actually seen them on that cover, I was like, damn, I want to read that. Because I really like Hawk and Dove.
I know very little about them. Like I've heard of them, but I feel like that's the extent of it. But all the more reason for me to pick up a book like this because I love like ensemble cast. Because we've discussed this before too. Like for DC, for me, like I like those like the B characters more. Like I'd much rather read a Teen Titans book than a Superman book, or a Batman book. And that's not to say, you know, that I'm completely disinterested. I just said I want to read the Action Comics one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think some shit like this is really up my alley because I like those like side characters in DC. I think they're really fascinating. As far as this week goes, very light week. You basically grabbed everything that I did except for one issue. So we're just gonna kind of go through this. I got Venom 2 as well. I got the other cover.
Is that Variant or is mine a Variant?
No, mine is.
I was going to say.
And they had the I don't know who drew this one. I don't know if it'll tell me in here either. The art style looks familiar. I don't know how well like the lighting is. The art style looks familiar, but I can't put my finger on who it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what drew me
cover.
to this cover. Yeah, I like it. I don't know what drew me to it because they had the A cover in my box.
Yeah, for comparison, I'll show close up of the A cover.
And I think they're both great. I like both
think they
of them. But yeah, for some reason,
yours though.
I decided to swap it. I was like,
I think I would have got yours. I think I would have got yours had I had the option.
Yeah, so I guess now I feel less bad about swapping out the A cover. I still haven't read Venom 1 because I'm a massive slacker. I'm just a giant comic book fraud. Don't do nearly as much reading as I'd like to. But yeah, so that's Venom. I hope that it's also my potential pick of the week, but we'll see. You know, I don't have time to read most of the time because I get off of work, go to the comic book store, and then we just get right on the chat and talk about it. The other one that I decided to get was the other one that you thought could be your pick of the week. I got it. I said, fuck it. And I wasn't even expecting it. Honestly, I had completely forgotten about the book.
Yeah.
This could have like been a contender for my cover of the week.
Yeah, it's freaking cool.
But the weirdest thing when I got to my shop, and I always look at the wall, like I kind of just wait to tell them to grab my stuff because I just like to look. I like to like experience being at a comic book store. Like I don't want to just go in and out, you know, just get my shit and go, like unless I absolutely am in a hurry. So I like to look, and I didn't see that anywhere on the new wall. And that's why when I got the stuff from my box, they put my shop puts them all in like a little bag, like for each week. And this one was the one that was on top. So when I'm looking at the wall, I kind of already have a general idea of what's going to be in that little bag. So when that was on top, I was like, what the fuck book is this? Like, remember how I told you my shop does recommendations sometimes? So they'll throw something in there. I thought that's what it was. And then when I pulled it out, I was like, oh, wait, no, this is Justice League Incarnate. Like, I'm actually really excited to give this a shot just because this cover looks awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm like half tempted to just go in blind and read this without reading Infinite Frontier.
I would, because the thing is that like I think it'd be a good experiment because as much as I love the puzzle piece style that DC are kind of going with all these shorter series and stuff, they still need to be accessible in the sense that you should be able to jump onto this and be able to fully grasp what's going on.
And that's something that I wanted to mention too. That's part of the reason I'm tempted to read it without having read anything else, is because like we've been going on for weeks now about the accessibility of DC, but it's like I haven't read any of this shit. Like I couldn't even tell you the last DC book I read. It might have been Injustice, which is an Elseworld story that's also like 10 years old at this point. Or whatever. So I don't know what's currently happening. So like, can I go into this #1 issue and have any idea what's going on?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, and I guess we're going to put that accessibility to the test, and I'm excited to check it out and then let you know what I think of it.
Because the thing is, as well, is like from my point of view, I'll be reading it as a continuation of Infinite Frontier, so I'll be almost reviewing it as a sequel as well to say like, oh, does this work in regards to should you read this after you read Infinite Frontier? Whereas you'll be like, can you read it and not know what the hell's going on with Infinite Frontier? So like, it's a good balance.
Yeah, and I mean, if I'm totally lost, then I could very easily like go on Comixology and just like buy the singles or whatever of Infinite Frontier and then read it, and then I'll be caught up for issue 2.
I think
But
regardless of, you know, the outcome of this sort of experiment, the beauty of DC's style right now, at the very least, is if you do need Infinite Frontier, you don't need to read 150 issues. You only need to read 6 issues. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
They've kind of done. There's still a level of accessibility there, in the sense that, like, you know, like what I just said about Action Comics, like that's been building up for months, but you really only need to read like 5 issues and then you're there. You know?
yeah.
And
I really
and
hope that that's the case, because I do want to try it, and if it's only 5 issues, I feel like that's going to give me that push to actually
Yeah.
jump in there instead of like reading like 1 or 2 more arcs of Action Comics first.
The other thing as well is like with Action Comics, and I should have said, I think you could read that. It wouldn't mean as much, but you could read it without knowing what else is going on. You know what I mean? You'd be more enriched by reading the previous stuff. But
Yeah.
you know, but that's almost kind of DC in a way. Like I always think that DC, the more reading you do, the better, more you get out of it. So like even with Justice League Incarnate, I fully expect that like if you read Infinite Frontier, fair, you'll enjoy it more. But the more DC reading you've done in general, probably the more you'll get out of it. It's just kind of a rule I've found with DC. You know, because like with Action Comics, you read Superman and Authority, that'll make that reading even better. But if you also read the Action Comics run before, like the stuff before this issue, it'll enrich it. And then if you read like John Kent's run, it'll enrich it. And that's that thing. And that happens all the way through the past as well. You know, like again, like a Human Target, you can read it by itself. But if you read Justice League International, you're going to love it even more.
Interesting.
You know, so it's all about experience. But you got to start somewhere.
Well, right, insane. That's the other thing. And like I said, like with DC, I can't tell you the last book. I say, like, I know I said it was probably Injustice, but I mean, I haven't read any like Rebirth stuff, or honestly, the only New 52 stuff that I really read was Aquaman, which surprises me because I feel like I've read so much more, but it's because I've bought so much shit and just haven't read it.
Yeah.
I have a shitload of New 52 books, but I've only read Aquaman so far.
Yeah. No, I think it's cool. I mean, there's a lot of good, I mean, New 52 was like a controversial time. There's a lot of good in there, like a lot of good series in there. I think Rebirth was a really good point for DC. Like, there's a lot of good titles came out of Rebirth. It was hard to actually find a title that wasn't good coming out of Rebirth. And I think right now they're hit a point again where I think it's harder to find a bad series. You know, like I think right now Black Manta is probably the worst series I'm reading. And even then, I wouldn't say it's like bad. It's just mediocre. You know, the consistency in DC right now is really good. But I always think with DC, if you want to try DC, you got to find a character you like and find just a point in time and just read that runs and then build out from that. Like once you've figured out a certain point and what's going on, like so Justice League Incarnate, if that is the through line for DC and you grab hold onto that and you kind of understand the inner workings of the core storyline, then you just build outwards and build backwards and it's easier, you know? Because like Batman, for instance, I read Snyder's run first, and then recently I read Tinian's. So you just work your way backwards through the runs, you know, Tinian, King, Snyder, Morrison, you know, and then you find like a timeline. And through that, then when you read another, like if you read Green Lantern, you'll be like, oh, this ties into the same point as Batman. And you'll see everything kind of runs concurrently in the line. And you kind of build a timeline for yourself almost. And that's what I mean by experience. The more you read, the more experience you'll get.
I say, so I know you're saying that this is the case for DC, but I think I actually kind of feel, or I've had that experience, I should say, with Marvel, with the X-Men. Because like I feel like every 90s kid fucking likes the X-Men, whether it's because of the cartoon or just because of the movies or like whatever, like everybody liked the X-Men. and I don't remember where I started. I read an X-Force book, actually. The what the hell is it? The Chris Yost and Craig.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always forget because the dude has a first name for a last name, so it throws me off. But I guess so do you. So I read that, and that led into an X-Men event, and that X-Men event made me want to read more of the other X-Men stuff. So then I ended up reading like Second Coming and Messiah Complex and all these other like bigger events, and I was like, damn, now I want to fill these gaps. So I have all of these like mid 2000s X-Men books, and I haven't started too many of them yet, but like I've committed to getting like any X-Men book that I can find from like the new X-Men, like Grant Morrison, all the way up to probably Avengers versus X-Men, which is like 10 years worth of X-Men titles, which is a fuck ton when you throw in like the like New Mutants and X-Force and X Factor if I can get my hands on it. So I get what you mean, not to get too sidetracked any further.
No, I think when you said what you just said, I was like, I don't know if I agree with you if you say Marvel. I think it's one of my biggest problems with Marvel, that I hate when the two get compared to each other, because I think Marvel are atrocious at it. But when you said X-Men, I hadn't actually taken into account X-Men. Yeah, I think I see where you're coming from with X-Men. I agree with you. I think you're right. Like X-Men does have the same idea with it. Like I did the sort of same thing with Brian Michael Bendis' run on X-Men and Uncanny X-Men. Like I built around that as well, forward and backward, with Avengers versus X-Men and stuff. So yeah, I see where you're coming from with that, and I'd agree with that.
Yeah. I haven't really experienced that with any other Marvel titles yet. Just X-Men. But I'm hoping, like I said, I have a lot of New 52 stuff, so I'm hoping that some of that will kind of expand my horizons. But anyway, on to my last book. Originally, I was going to save Justice League Incarnate for last, but I forgot that you were also going to pick it up, because I thought that this was the book that I'm the most excited for. But the more I look at this cover of this book, the more excited I am for this as well, even though I'm very behind. It's a book that I've pulled before. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's issue 123. And like I said, I'm like 60 issues behind on Turtles. Like I'm very, very far behind. But looking at this cover, even though the art style isn't like something typical that I expect from the TMNT books, I still like it. But looking in the back, I see a lot of like other anthropomorphic characters that I'm not familiar with. Like there's a fucking tiger and like a moose on here. I don't know who these people are, but like now I'm excited to find out. And it looks like a mutant like Fight Club type thing. And like that sounds like something that's right up my alley. So like now I'm like, damn, like I need to get caught up on Turtles so that I could read this. Like this looks so cool. And like I flipped through it a little bit, and there's so many other characters that they never heard of. How far did you say you got?
Where would I have gotten to? Well, actually, I got to complete collection wise. I got to 6. So, what that must maybe? I don't know. Well, hold on, it's right there, so I'll grab it. 50. I only got as far as 50.
Okay, so then I don't know. Like this isn't really a spoiler because it happened from like a side event, but they get this little. There was a Turtles in Time spinoff, and they basically like stole this little baby dinosaur from the past.
Yeah, I remember. I think I remember that.
You remember that? So like I love that like that's still around despite, being 60 issues later or whatever. And I flipped through it a little bit just to see if there was any cool like Fight Club moments. And I didn't get that far because I hate spoilers. I didn't want to, even though by the time I read it, I'm sure I'll forget. But I did flip through it a little bit. and I saw, I don't know if it's like a rat or like a gopher or what, but it's got like rainbow hair. I don't know what the hell's going on here, but it's just like, you know what? I don't even care anymore. Like, I'll read it. I'm here for it. Like, that's fine. Whatever you got. I don't care if this isn't as good as like the first 100 issues. If you're gonna throw more like mutants at me, I'm in.
Yeah.
Super in.
That sounds awesome. I've really wanted to read the rest of it. How far did you say you were behind? Like, do you remember where you got to?
I'm trying to think. I want to say I got somewhere in like the 60s to early 70s range as far as like the issue count. It's well after like the climax with Shredder, but right before the Triceratons show up. I saw them on a lot of covers for a while, but I didn't get that far yet. Yeah. So it's somewhere in between. I think it's the Street Phantoms or whatever. That's what comes after Shredder. So I stopped somewhere between that and like whatever Triceraton arc they have, which I'm also really excited to read. I can't believe that I stopped reading the fucking book right before those showed up because I thought that they were so cool in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show, like the 2003 one. Those were some of my like favorite villains and shit, and some of the arcs that they had with them I really liked. So I'm glad that they included them in the book, and I'm kicking myself again for not having continued at least through that part because I was anxiously awaiting to see if they would make it in the book, and then they did, and I haven't read it yet.
There's always time.
Oh, well, yeah. No, now I need to make time since I want to read about this super mutant fight club or whatever the hell they're going to call it. But that's what it looks like. I think I saw like a boxing ring in one of these panels too. I don't know. But yeah, so as if my to read list wasn't long enough already, I just made it a little bit longer, or at least shifted the priorities. And that's all I had though. But yeah, damn. It's so funny. Like I left the shop today thinking like, okay, this is the order that I want to show off these books. And the Turtles one was the first one just because like I was like, whatever. But then as I got here, we sat down, started talking, and I'm like looking at the cover a little more. I'm like, I'm actually way more excited about this than I was an hour ago. Like, but
that's cool. It's building anticipation.
Yeah, it really is. It absolutely is. And I gotta.
You're gonna have to. That's a serious amount of time you're gonna have to set aside though to read all of that.
I know. I'm hoping that I don't get like burnt out or like feel like I'm forcing myself to continue it if I like start to like hit like a lull. But we'll see. Part of the reason that I like hesitate to keep or continue reading it so far though is like I've heard that they're releasing like the paperbacks that are like mapped similarly to those hardcover collections.
Yeah.
So I'm like kind of waiting for those, but at the same time, like at the rate they're coming out, it's gonna take forever.
It will.
So I don't know what I'm gonna do because reading singles is kind of a hassle, and like that's like the only way that I have most of the series. I have a few trades because I double dip a lot because I want to support the series and you know, I like displaying it on my shelf. And if I ever reread it, like that's the way that I would do it versus singles.
Yeah.
So I might have a few trades that I haven't read yet. But it's not a lot. It probably still put me 30 or so issues like behind from where they're currently at.
Are you gonna buy those? So you're gonna buy those softcover collections? Are you?
Yeah, I definitely will. Because if they're mapped the same way that the hardcovers are, they're going to have all like the spin-offs and like miniseries and stuff in there as well. So everything will be mapped chronologically instead of having to switch back and forth between books. Because there's a number of spin-off series. And then on top of that, well, not spin-off, there's like mini events like the Turtles in Time one. They had the mini and like the macro series for like each character, like everyone got their own like special issue, like including the villains. Bebop and Rocksteady have had 2 like 4 or 5 issue miniseries as well. Now there's another, the Mighty Mutanimals. It was like the team. I don't know if it would have been as far as you got.
I think it might have been. I think I only just met them, but yeah, I think I just got far enough to meet them.
Right. So they had another like 4 issue miniseries, and then there was the TMNT universe ongoing, which only ended up lasting like 25 issues, but it didn't tie in crazy heavy to the main ongoing, but it did like reference it a lot. And they do that throughout the whole series. You probably have seen it where it's like, oh, like it'll put a little asterisk next to something. It'll be like, check issue whatever of this, the ongoing or this series or whatever. So with the way that the hardcover collections are mapped, like it has everything. So I wouldn't need to buy the ongoing trades and then like the universe trades and then the spin-offs. It's just everything, one book, and they're like thicker. So it's a no-brainer for me to get it.
Not to go back to it again, but I really hope Power Rangers some days releases books that are like that, because their hardcover collections aren't mapped out well at all. They only follow one series, and like you just sent me the other day, that new, like, it's like a Power Rangers universe series. That's a way to start. And I mean, like, how does all this fit together? And it just would be easier if it was mapped out like those hardcovers, those TMNT hardcovers. Like, I've got one sitting right next to me here. These hardcovers are excellent for mapping.
Yeah,
absolutely phenomenal for mapping.
I say I'm very envious of that, and I'm glad that they're coming out with paperbacks for it as well. Because I almost cracked and was like, "Fuck, maybe I should just get these hardcovers because of like how well they're mapped."
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad I didn't, since they're coming out with a paperback version as well. I can stay true to myself. But yeah, no, I think more books need to follow that mold, or whatever that they like, the precedent that they're setting, if it even is one. More books need to do that. I definitely think that not enough are, based on like how many spin-offs and shit like everything gets these days. I feel like I would love if the Valiant universe like kind of took a page out of that book and did something similar. I don't know the best way to do it, since they have a lot of characters, and it would be kind of weird. I don't want them to go like the Dawn of X route and just give me issue 1 for 6 different characters and then keep going.
I could do it for them. They just need to ask me.
See if they'll pay you for it and accordingly,
because they definitely could do it. The only time where you would get like maybe like a single issue here and then another single issue would be like the events, but you very much could easily do like trade paperbacks and like layer them into larger books. I definitely think as well that I think the one thing that lets down the trade paperbacks that I've got, because I have a massive collection, is the zero issues. The zero issues always seem like they're in the wrong place. Like when I've read, like for instance, Harbinger, I have read the zero issue earlier than it appears in the book. I think like when I read like volume 2, I jump to volume 3, read it, the issue 0, and then I continue with volume 2 because it fits better in a certain place. So like, yeah, there's still mapping there's points with mapping where I think even like the trades could be better in that. But yeah, they could easily do that. In fact, I think it'd be cool if they did phase books. I would 100% love if they did like oversized, like not oversized, but like larger books that had like a phase 1 and had like everything you kind of needed for the first part. And the thing is it's not a wide enough range that they couldn't do that, you know?
Yeah, even if, because I thought the same thing, probably not even 2 or 3 minutes before you said that, if they broke it down by phases, since that's like, it's very like phase heavy in like the early goings of the reboot. Even if they're not like mixing trades and like interweaving things, like they could even probably do like a box set or something where it's like, here's like the phase 1 stuff here, and then they don't have to call it that, you know, so this way people don't accuse them of ripping off the MCU or some dumb shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they mapped it out in phases, I think that would be really cool as well.
I think some of them could be larger, but they just need to do like part 1, part 2s, you know? In the grand scheme of things, it could be maybe be a series of like 10 books up till now. But I think it'd be worth it, to be honest. I think they make a lot of money doing it that way. I actually think as well it'd be beneficial for them, because if you do it that way, I could see a lot more people picking up their single issues.
Yeah, and that with I think it was Harbinger 1 came out last month.
Yeah.
It like and the cover looked kind of intriguing, but like if I read Valiant, I want to do it like from the start, like how I was doing it and fell off.
Yeah.
So it stopped me, but I'm hoping that like next year, if this project that we're planning on doing actually like comes to fruition, I'm like, damn, like maybe this time next year I can start pulling a Valiant book, because like I really like that, but I don't know where to start right now, and I don't want to pull one just for the sake of pulling it. Because if I bought that Harbinger book, the odds of me reading it were very slim, because I'd want to read it. It's not because of the same reason why like I didn't read Venom, because I was just being a lazy piece of shit. Like with Harbinger, I would want to wait and read all the other Harbinger related things first.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. I think it's insane that I look back on my time of having a pull list, and I've never pulled a Valiant book. But at the same time, the reason I've never pulled one is because I am working my way through all these different like phases. Like I think right now I'd probably be on like phase 8 or something. So there's a fair amount, but I would feel like a disservice to just jump into the single issues when I haven't read all of that. That said, that's where their problem lies. I think they would get more people jumping on if they made this stuff more accessible. I don't think that it's well known enough for people to just pick the issue off the side. But if you were to say, it's almost like how, like if they treat it like seasons. Like I know Milestone recently released that like compendium that had all the stuff from the past. You read that, you could easily read the new stuff. Like that's what they should do, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think like that project wise as well, like our Valiant project, I think if anyone wants to get into Valiant, it's a really good project to join us on, because I think it will break it down in a way in which everyone will find something they like, or eventually they'll learn what they want to miss or what they want to read or whatever. But we'll cover pretty much every millimeter of that universe completely.
Yeah, and I think the best part is because like you read a lot further in it than I did, but I think the best part about that, like the early goings of that reboot, was that like all of it's fairly quality. Like I know that everyone says that Shadow Man is like far and away the worst of that bunch, but even that, like I still enjoyed it a lot. Like it wasn't a bad book. So like I think that if that is their definition of the worst book of the reboot line, I think that just speaks volumes about the quality of the brand as a whole from that like 2012 to 2015 era.
Yeah, I mean, like I remember when I first started reading them, like all their volume 1s, I was kind of like, huh, okay. But then when you read the volume 2s and 3s, they just like I've never had such a 180 on a character like I did with Bloodshot. I thought Bloodshot was like just a generic action, you know, just like muscle man going. And then you read the second volume, and I was like, oh my god, there's so much. It's went in such a different direction than I expected it to. And then that leads you into Harbinger Wars, and that's still one of the best events I've ever read, because it's just got so many different outlooks on it. There's so much going on, different character point of views, and like different issues follow different people. And if you layer them in the right way, you're getting like a really well-rounded look at every corner of this event. And then it really did affect things going forward. It didn't just happen and then it was over. It affected everything going forward, you know? And it's just, yeah, it's awesome, you know?
So,
and Unity is the same. To Kill a King is the same. It's awesome.
And Harbinger Wars is where they kind of lost me. Like that's where the switching between books like got on my nerves, and like having to go back and forth and like look up the proper reading order and all that. Like that's where I kind of started to fall out of it, because it stopped being easy. But they have a Harbinger Wars compendium,
Yeah.
and I've seen like some pictures of it, and like I've seen like the issue count, and I forget what it is off the top of my head right now, but like it's a massive book, and it
Yeah.
looks like very cumbersome, and I feel like it's one of those compendiums that would end up like falling apart after like, again, I've never had that happen to me personally, but like I believe it. So like it, I feel like they could have broken that into two parts, like how you said earlier,
Yeah.
just split it up, because that compendium contains every issue of Harbinger and Bloodshot all the way up through Harbinger Wars. So like it's the event and then some. Like I know people complain about an omnibus and it's like tie-ins when it comes to events.
Yeah.
Like if anything, this is the right way to do it, but
Yeah.
I think it's too big. Like if they
Yeah.
wanted to break it up with the event in the proper reading order, and then you could either do two books where it's Bloodshot and Harbinger building up to it, and then the event, or you could do just one Bloodshot book that puts you right up to Harbinger Wars, one Harbinger book that puts you right up there, and then have the actual Harbinger Wars book. You'd probably get 3 decent sized books out of it, because I think it's either 8 or 12 issues for each book leading into Harbinger Wars, and then Harbinger Wars is like 12 by itself, because it's Harbinger, Bloodshot, and the Harbinger Wars trade all at once.
Yeah.
So,
that's the thing. I think like there's a few different formats you could take with it. I mean, if you do our phase sort of style, you could probably do like a whole phase 1 and then just do a Harbinger book, and then do a phase like a phase 1B or whatever. Or you could do like a road to Harbinger Wars, which would have Bloodshot and Harbinger in like their issues in the build up to it. And then you would have Harbinger Wars, which would just be like the event itself. The funny thing about Harbinger Wars, and I've done it so many times, and I need to look over my list again, but there's so many different reading orders, and I don't know if the compendium, I've never actually looked at what the compendium's reading order is, but I have seen 4 different people post online that have said, like, this is the way to read it. And there is a right way to read it, and there is a wrong way, because I know for a fact I've read 2 different reading orders, and they've not worked. Like they spoil stuff before. And then there was one I read that was so on point, like it layered everything perfectly, and the reveals happened at the right time. Nothing got spoiled. And I need to find that again. So even then, I think like the mapping could still be worked on. The fact that there's people debate about reading order as well is there needs to be a definitive reading order. You know what I mean?
Oh, I agree. That's crazy to me that there's like different ones. Like it'd be one thing if if it was someone was arguing like chronologically versus release order, like that I understand. But like the fact that there's even more to it, like you're saying you've seen 3 or 4 different ones.
Yeah. It's because like Harbinger Wars is a surprisingly intricate event. I think that's why it's so good. But the problem is because you're looking at like 4 different, not even characters, but you're looking at 4 different groups' point of views. And in that, you've got some of these groups. One of the groups is like got like 12 kids in it. So you're looking at so many different points of view. So there's all these different reading orders, because you kind of got to figure out who's the most important point of view. And if you've got who the main character is how you're going to find out about all the reveals. And I mean, like, I think the reading order that I read treated the Harbinger team as the main characters, but then all of a sudden you switch and you're following the Hard Corps point of view, and it spoils some stuff. And then you go back to Harbinger team, but then you've already been spoiled some stuff through the Hard Corps because you followed their point of view for a while. So you kind of almost have to pick who your point of view is, you know?
That's interesting.
Because again, it's quite intricate in regards to, because it's not even linear. Like the first pages of Harbinger Wars book is a meeting talking about Harbinger Wars because it already happened, and then it goes back, and like even that is like it's not strictly speaking linear, you know. Post that though is fine though. I think Harbinger Wars is very intricate. Like To Kill a King, the Unity event with like Exo Manowar, that's much more straightforward. And like in regards to layering trades, it's not hard. Like they all layer really well. You can figure out. As I say, I have like a specific reading order for them all that I think works really well. introducing basically the core aspects. Then you do the first event, and then it introduces like some of the background characters in the universe, and then you move into the next event with X of Manowar. It just breaks it down really nice. But yeah, like we're going on a tangent. But yeah, like I agree though. I think Valiant, there's a lot of work they could do that would make them so much more popular. And it's they're almost like saying no to money, because I know people would jump on it if they did it. Heck, I bought all the trades. Like one day I maybe do a walkthrough of all my trades of it because I have so many. But if they were to release these sort of style books, these phase books, I would buy them in a heartbeat. You know?
I don't have nearly as many as you, but I got a good like dozen or two. It's probably like at least 2 dozen Valiant trades. And if they released like larger collections, I would absolutely buy those. I mean, they display nicer, and they would read better if they're mapped properly. So like, I absolutely would buy them. They'd get my money twice, the fuckers.
Yeah, exactly. But like we plan on doing a project where maybe a read along with the reading order that I have, and we'll read it in installments, and we'll do a discussion on it, and you can read it with us, and you know, it's a good. I think it'll be a good gateway to get it for anyone that wants to get into Valiant. So that should be fun, and I'm very excited to see people's point of view on it.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that project. I really hope that it pans out. I mean, as much as I'm not opposed to it just being the two of us, it would be cool to potentially get like a third person involved in here.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to get someone that has no experience with Valiant, because again, I think Valiant, I know a few people have tried to get into Valiant, and I don't think they like the look of it. Like they're unsure, and I understand that, because I think like X of Manowar has a weirdish look, and I think that Bloodshot has a weird look. And if you've seen the Vin Diesel movie, you're probably going to be totally off of Bloodshot now. But the movie doesn't do a good job of that. But I think once you start, you'll instantly realize it's not like any other comic book publisher, and it's very it's intricate. I would say it's not face value. There's a lot of layers to it.
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, I was one of those people at first. Like I kept seeing things about it, and I was just like, just looks okay. Like, and I wasn't like familiar with Valiant at the time because I didn't really know that they were a publisher or anything. But when I saw some of the characters, I recognized them because my dad has like some single issues from like the original Valiant stuff, like the 90s. So like I think X of Manowar was one of the people that I recognized, and probably Bloodshot. So I was just like, what is this? Like at first I thought that it might have just been like them redoing the stuff from the 90s, like reprinting it or whatever. And then like I realized that it was more modern, and I was like, oh, okay, well that's kind of interesting. And then I kept hearing about how good it was from like all these random people on like Twitter or like message boards and stuff like that. And I was like, damn, like what, am I missing something here? So then I started with X of Manowar, and I was like, holy shit, like, okay, I can get into this. And then from there, that's when I was like, I'm gonna read everything Valiant. And I tried and stopped at Harbinger Wars, obviously, but I had read a lot like up to that point.
I mean, I've read a lot of it, but it's taken me years. Like it's not like this has been a 10-year project to like get all this together, you know? Or like, well, it was 2012, so not, I'm a bit over exaggerating, but it's definitely been like 8 years it's taken me to collect what I have. So it's not easy. Like, do you know what I mean? Like for someone to get into it, that's 8 years of work they have to put in, you know?
Yeah.
So they really need to do what we're saying, and they need to find a better format for it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And that like tying back into what started this whole thing with buying like an issue 1 or whatever, like when I was reading Valiant at the time, like I was probably very close, but I was never actually fully caught up, because back then, like 2014 is when I started reading Valiant like super heavily. That was like prime time for me to just anything that I had a remote interest in, just add it to my pull list. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Like there'd be some times where I'd miss going to the shop like for 2 or 3 weeks, and my pull list would be like upwards of like $100. So like I was just adding so much shit, and eventually like I kind of like fine-tuned it a little bit. But like I absolutely would have added it at the time, and for all I know, I'd still be pulling it now because of like a similar attachment to like the Turtles. You know, I don't know. I do feel like they're kind of leaving money on the table a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, like when I started, I picked it up because like I heard good things and stuff, and I started with X of Manowar, and I found this reading list and that, and then like over the years, it became like an addiction of sorts. Also, I found that the compendiums that most people buy doesn't do the universe justice. I feel like if people buy like the hardcover compendium of Bloodshot, they'll think that it does service to Bloodshot, but it doesn't to me because it misses out so much of what the universe is. Like if you do like the reading order, and I know it's a bit elitist, I guess. When you read everything, you appreciate the richness of the universe and Bloodshot's place in it. When you read the compendium, you're just reading Bloodshot. So when I see people say like, "Oh, I've read the Bloodshot stuff. That's awesome," that pains me a little bit because I'm like, but Bloodshot complements like Harbinger. You know, it complements Archer and Armstrong. You know, and so these compendiums, I don't think a good job because even then, like, there's no, I don't believe there's a compendium for Archer and Armstrong or Quantum and Woody, which is one of my favorites. So people are missing out on these other characters, and Bloodshot is good, but he's definitely not my favorite in that universe. You know, so even then, I think the compendiums they don't work. You know, I think they do for the events, but as you say, even then they cover so much, like it's almost too big a book.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
So anyway, now that we've announced our Valiant project, hopefully you guys got through this video far enough to hear about it. Starting in January, we're going to attempt to do this read through of the entire Valiant universe. Connor's got it all mapped out in that head of his, and I can't wait for it. I hope that people join us, like even in the comments or in our Facebook group that we haven't plugged yet. Cupcakes comic reviews. Feel free to hop in there, talk to us.
Get on there.
Honestly, though, that'd be the best way to interact with us. If you had any interest in that, if you wanted to get involved in any of these projects that we're doing, it's the best way to do it.
If you don't like our videos, tell us.
yeah, join the group and tell us we're shit. That's fine. Might tell you to fuck off right back, but I mean, it's all out of love.
Exactly. We're open and honest.
Yeah, no, and I that's what's so great about us. But yeah, so join the group, follow us on Twitter or Instagram if those are your things. I mean, we're on there too, but not to the same extent that we are in the Facebook group. And let us know in the comments or in the group if you join it what you pulled this week. Let us know what we should have pulled. Let us know what your pick of the week was. If Spider-Man was also your worst pick of the week, any of that stuff, please let us know. We're all for recommendations or affirmations of our current beliefs, any of that stuff. We're here for all of it. So with that said, I think we're going to say goodbye for this week. We will be back next week. I don't know if you remember this, Connor, but Frontiersman 3 comes out next week.
Oh, Lord.
I don't know if you're ready for it, but if you guys watched either the video where we talked about it or the little clip that we uploaded with it, we have some feelings about that book. And I'm kind of excited to see where issue 3 goes because the cover looks cool, but I'm still... we've got some.
That's going to be a toasty one. That's going to be a toasty one.
Next week will absolutely be interesting. So please tune in. There won't be a previews video again this week. We usually have Taylor handle that part, but he's too cool for us.
Taylor talks comics.
Yeah, I was I was wondering if we could get through a video without plugging it, but there it is. There it is. But yeah, so we're signing out for this week. We will catch you guys next Wednesday. And we are going to have, at some point soon, the Sell Me on This video with me and Connor talking about Power Rangers. He's going to try to talk me into it, and maybe he'll talk you into it too. So check that out if you're on the fence about it. Hopefully we'll get that sooner than later. And with that said, we'll see you guys next week.
Peace out.